All right, let's talk about questions you should ask a startup co-founder. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I want to say thank you to Sandashri. I believe that's how you say your name. If I'm mispronouncing it, I apologize. Please let me know in the comments below how to phonetically say it. I want to respect people's names, but I had a question from you that asked after watching my Assigning Startup Co-Founder Responsibilities video. You asked what questions you should ask a startup co-founder. And so I want to run through some of those for you today. I also wrote a blog post about it. So I'll put a link below to my blog post and you can go there and check it out, because there I have links to 3 different articles that were wrote about the same topic. They are very long. They range anywhere from 34 to 75 questions you should ask a startup co-founder. And while I do think you should, quote unquote, interrogate a startup co-founder and spend lots of time making sure you get the right one, I also don't know about sharing 75 different questions with them. So I've boiled it down to 8 that I want to share with you today that I think you should ask your startup co-founder. So number 1, tell me about yourself. You're going to be spending lots of time with this co-founder. You're going to be with them more time than you probably are with your family and friends and all those groups. So it makes sense to make sure that you understand what type of person this is in the first place. And I mean, from a personal perspective, maybe they have a bad time maintaining relationships with friends and family. Is that the type of person you want to work with? So just try and get a sense of the type of person they are, what their beliefs are, how they are motivated, how they tick, how they run, all these different things from a personal perspective before you even bother diving into the business side. Number 2, I want you to ask the question why. So famous Simon Sinek, start with why. We didn't start with why. We asked with tell me about yourself. But the second question I want you to ask them is why. Why do they want to be part of your startup? Why do they want to be in the startup industry, right? What are the things that matter to them and the reason that's pushing? Are they passionate about the pain point that your business is going to solve? And are they passionate about your solution? Or I've seen it in the past with people who want to jump in the middle of a startup. They're just passionate about startups and they think that what you're doing is the latest and greatest thing and they want to ride that train. So ask why to understand where this interest is coming from. Of course, if you approach them, it's slightly different. But if they're coming to you saying they're interested in co-founding a business with you or love what you're doing and want to play a part as a co-founder, you need to understand that motivation. So the third question to ask, what would our goals be? So I once was part of a startup where my goal was just to create really not a high growth startup, but just a lifestyle business that was going to kick off passive income in the long run. My co-founder wanted to create the next latest, biggest and greatest tech startup, almost like a Facebook, not the same concept or industry, but meaning something that big that grew that fast. I didn't have any interest in that. I knew that if someone came and offered us $10 million 2 years from now, that I would take it and walk away. He wanted it to grow to be the next unicorn or billion-dollar company. So understanding what your goals are as co-founders is really important to make sure that you don't have any misalignment whatsoever. All right, the fourth question I want you to ask, and I really love this one. I got it from a gentleman named Eric Rory. He's actually in the network marketing industry, but the questions, the series of questions is really important to help determine if someone's just kind of looking to get rich quick or if they're willing to stay the course on a startup. It can take anywhere from 3 to 7 years to really have a decent growth and get any kind of exit whatsoever. So you need someone who's going to be willing to stick with us. So the questions that Eric asked is in this order. How many hours a day are you willing to work on this business? For how many weeks? For how many years? Without looking back and expecting results, right? So how many hours a day are you willing to work? How many weekdays in a week are you willing to work? And then for however many years are you willing to put in effort without looking behind you to see what kind of results you've had? So if you have someone who says, hey, I'm willing to put in 5 days a week, I'm willing to work, 10 hours a day, and I'm willing to do that for 1 month before I expect us to start making money. That may be misalignment. And so these are important questions you should be asking yourself. All right, the fifth question I want you to ask is This is a little bit tricky, and it's a little bit tricky for them to answer, but you need to ask it. And it's, tell me about your financial position. If you've got a co-founder who has a bad history of not being able to manage their own money, then they're probably not going to be good at managing any of the money associated with a startup. Maybe they've had some financial problems. Maybe they need a lot of money per month to replace their salary for them to come on full time to your business. Another part of this question is, do they have any money to invest in the startup at all? Even if it's just $1,000 to contribute, are they willing to put some of their own money at risk towards your idea? So asking them to tell you all about your financial position is really, really critical. It is a little tricky. It's a little uncomfortable, but if you're going to be startup co-founders, you got to get in each other's business. You're going to be in it anyways. And so that's a very, very critical question to ask. The sixth question is, what have you failed at? Entrepreneurship is all about failing. I've failed more times than I haven't, but I've learned a lot from those failures, and those have allowed me to be successful in other ventures. So if your co-founder has not failed at all or has not failed enough, then they're not trying enough and they're not learning enough, and they're likely not going to be a very valuable co-founder. Question number 7, how are we going to split up responsibilities? So I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer to this one. You should split up your responsibilities based on each person's strength. If you are missing the strength of, let's say, marketing, then you need to go out and find a co-founder who can do that marketing. So split up responsibilities based on each person's strengths and expertise that they have. No other way should it be done. I don't care if you like marketing and you want to be part of that, run those responsibilities for the startup. If you don't have experience in it and it's not your expertise, somebody else needs to do it, or you need to find another co-founder to do it. And then the last one to share with you is, how will we make decisions when we disagree? So my brother and I have done business together in multiple family business ventures, and he would tell you that we always write a rock solid operating agreement. We put in writing how we're going to handle any disagreements whatsoever. That's really important, and a suggestion for you to think about doing. It can be uncomfortable to put that in writing, but the beauty is if and not if, because when you have a disagreement with a startup founder, all you do is go back to the paper and let it be the bad guy. You say, when we formed this company, we said this is how we're going to address disagreements, and it says it right here. So this is what we're going to do. So a good example would be, if you have assigned responsibilities based on expertise and experience, and it's a marketing decision you're trying to make, if you are at an impasse on that decision, then maybe you let the person who's responsible for marketing be the tiebreaker, right? Because that's within their wheelhouse, that's their experience. They can put all that to work. They can make it matter. So how will we make decisions when we disagree? Because you're going to. So Sandashri, I really appreciate the question. Again, sorry about the name if I got it wrong, but I appreciate the question. I hope this information helps all of you. Make sure you take the time to get to know any startup co-founder. It is an important decision, not only for yourself, but for investors, since investors like to base their investment based on the team and not sole individuals. Typically team, right? They bet on the horse, not the jockey. Then, or I'm sorry, the jockey, not the horse, got it backwards. You really want a strong team around you. You want people that you can spend lots of time with, that you have good synergy with. And so it's a very, very important thing to do. Take the time to get to know them and find the right one. I hope that helps. I hope you find your voice. Have a great day.